We are in the President's Room. My name is Laura Kraft. I will be taking us through this interactive approach to your role as president. We talked a little bit about it before we had our breakout session changed up, and I'm going to go back. I'm going to go old school, y'all.
Okay, I'm just wondering if I missed anything because I'm just joining.
We just started. Are you in the right place? Let me ask that.
Yes.
Is your goal to be in the president's
Yes. Thanks.
dialogue? Great. Well, then you're in the right place. Welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Bear with me, guys. I'm going to share my screen. As I mentioned, my name is Laura Kraft. I've actually had the opportunity to serve as president at 2 different clubs. I had the privilege of serving at a club that was at the corporate level. And this past year, I've had the privilege of serving at a very small community club. I want to share a little bit about that with you. In our experience, we started the year with 9 members and went down to 7 2 weeks later. They moved out of state and decided to be with family as the quarantine was really in play. So what did that mean for Toastmasters in our club? We were very worried. We were scrounging. We were trying to figure out what could we do to survive. And what did it mean for the members who had been in this club for decades? In fact, one of our members has been there over 30 years. I'll share with you as we go along what that success meant. The reason I'm sharing this with you is you may have similar situations and want to know how to utilize those tools and what you have at your fingertips. The first thing I want to talk about, as we identified, we have several new presidents that are coming into this role. Let's talk about what you've got as far as resources and what are your responsibilities at a minimum. Well, the basic ones are, what do you do at your club meetings? What do you do before, during, and after the meeting? Next, what do you do with your officers? And what are all these new acronyms you heard this morning? What is TLI? That might be a brand new term you just learned this past week. What is DCP? Who are the trio? Goodness gracious, we can throw 26 letters at you in any form and confuse anyone. So hopefully, as a group today, we can clear that up. Let's start with the club meeting and your responsibilities. However your club is set up, you help set the tone. Whether you open the meeting, call it to order, greet the guests, informally or formally, you help to create that energy. It's really nice to get there early, greet the guests and the members, and also look at what that follow through is. As president, it's nice as a guest to hear from you and be welcomed back to join at any time. During the meeting, what extra responsibilities might you have? One thing to think about in advance, what do you need to share with your club? What's coming up? Do you have an open house coming up? Do you have a new member that's going to be inducted? Are there some district contests, club contests, specific milestones for your members that you want to go ahead and share? And then ideally, close the meeting as well. Offering all to share their accomplishments and to invite anyone to be able to express their information that needs to be shared. Can you see my screen now? Great. Whew.
Yes.
Now we're cooking with gas, modern technology. All right. The third thing is, what do you do after the meetings? Well, you greeted your guests in advance. You celebrated your members. That follow through after is a very nice touch. Reach out to the guests. Congratulate the members again. That's one of the great things about TLI is the ability to celebrate immediately and again as many times as we need. Bear with me as I move us forward. Also, during those club meetings, take a minute to talk about the next meeting that's coming up. Help that VPE or your sergeant at arms to create that excitement about what's to come. I had the opportunity to listen in on Harpeth officer induction this past Saturday, and their incoming president gave them kudos and gave them some excitement about what's coming in the year to come. And he ended it by saying, "We look forward to having you back." And he addressed it to the members in the room and to everyone that was on the screen. And I truly felt like, you know what? I'm ready to show up again. That's the type of environment we want to create for our members. Outside of the club meeting, as a president, you vote at the council meetings. You will hear from your trio. I mentioned trio a little while ago. I think I saw one of our incoming members here earlier, but our district director, Maddie Foster, our program quality director, Kristen Phillips, and our club growth director, Dean Phillips, will help us and communicate with us when those district council meetings are and what is coming up or what has happened as far as meeting minutes. And in the spring, we vote at the annual business meeting. So take a look at your communications as those come along. You'll also want to look at appointing the audit committee within your club. Do you know about the finances? Little things like, do you have a club constitution? Are there certain protocols that you need to be aware of as president that you want to bring forth that are outside of Toastmaster International's protocols? As well, it's not too early to start thinking about who's going to be your replacement. Donna just talked about that. If you're lucky enough to have a past president, he or she serves as the chair for your nominating committee. So start thinking about that as you go along. You are going to get some official correspondence from World Headquarters. In fact, some of you may have gotten one this week. There's a new form we are being asked to sign as incoming officers. If you haven't received that, check with your outgoing officers, and they'll be able to communicate that with you. Your clock with TI starts on July 1st. That's when our names switch over in the TI database. And you'll start receiving communications if you have not already. It's a great opportunity to have club committee meetings on a regular basis, whether it's monthly, every other month, etc. It's a great opportunity to do some checks and balances on how well is the club doing outside of your perception of what's going on. It also helps you to look at how can you develop skill sets within leadership, whether it's for you or some of your members. For example, maybe your PR vice president isn't really tech savvy, but they volunteered to help out because they're a great communicator. How can we help him or her to get the tools they need? That's something you can follow up on during committee meetings. Overseeing the club administration is huge. One of those big wins for you is advancing your membership achievements. Something as small as showing up every week for 6 weeks in a row, or finally giving that icebreaker. That's a member achievement to be celebrated, all the way up through distinguished Toastmaster and beyond. Also within our role as president is how do we interact effectively with other organization levels? I mentioned the trio a little while ago. As we're going to talk about club quality this afternoon, maybe you're in a similar position as my club where we had to rebuild members. We just had to get butts in the seat and grow from there. How do I, as president, interact with Dean and his team to get me the tools I need to be able to help our club? So we'll talk about that in just a moment. There are some tools out there if you're not familiar with. I highly recommend that you go out to TI and take a look at the Club Leadership Handbook. You'll receive this from TI when you get your welcome information. Within there, it's going to help you as president. I equate that to being CEO of the club. But it helps equate you with what the roles are within the club and how can you help support each of those roles. One of the things we can do is take a look at the club timeline that's in there. You'll notice on the screen, I've pulled out a couple of pages within the leadership handbook. And in here, it gives a month by month timeline of suggested items and important tasks for you to do. Take this, look at it for each officer role and for your members, and then plug in. I saw in the chat someone was asking about the contest. Plug in your open houses. Plug in your club contests or your special workshops and plan out with your executive committee how your club is going to roll through the year. Ladies and gentlemen, we start off the new year July 1st, and we've got great energy, and we make New Year's commitments or New Year's resolutions, if you want to call it such. And we start it with a bang. How do we keep that momentum going in September and October? And when you're paying your executive committee high dollars and they're just working their tushes off. And then that momentum starts to ebb and flow. One thing you can do is at the club committee meetings, at your club committee meetings, take a look at what's coming down the pike. What do you have scheduled for October, November, December, January? What do you have further out? And keep those in the back of your mind or move them forward as you need to ebb and flow with your club's excitement and engagement. In this timeline, you're going to see some little symbols and they're color coded. Those are related to the various officer positions. In the front of the book, it's going to walk you through what those icons stand for, and it'll call out for each specific role who has what responsibility. Some of the things to be on the lookout for and help to be responsible for. Work with your treasurer and your executive committee to create a club budget. I'll share with you in a little bit the club success plan. This is a key component to help you have a plan for what's coming up. And more importantly, take a look at how you can take that club success plan and bring it down to the member level. I know we talk a lot, or we hear a bit within Toastmasters International and even within our district about our distinguished club programs, and our club success plans. It really drills down to the members. If we know what the goal is for a member and multiply that for each member that we have, that's our club success plan. We take each member's goals, we plug it in, we build on it, and we help them to achieve those goals. It is an environment of volunteers. There's a great opportunity for growth and to spread the wealth by creating and overseeing club committees. Does your VPE need to set all the agendas and get all the members into roles each meeting? They sure don't. They can use a committee. Does the VPE need to assign mentors for new members? Not necessarily. Is there someone else in the club that can pick up that role? And now you have a mentor committee to help support your new and veteran members. What about VPPR? I mentioned earlier, your VPPR may be a great communicator, but she's not tech savvy. Pair her up. Let's get a committee going and see how we can grow that leadership. Build for next year's leaders and continue to strengthen our clubs. Once you have that in play, you've got a plan and you have your course starting to be set on how you will succeed over this next year. There are several tools that are out there. Getting started, you're doing it today. You're attending TLI. I mentioned the Club Success Leadership Handbook. And as well, if you haven't done so already, meet with your outgoing committee. Meet with your outgoing president. Understand what the Club Success Plan was last year. What are some challenges? What do you have that you are inheriting and are seeing as some quick wins, some quick successes? Maybe some hot topics you didn't even know about. The better prepared you are, the better able you're to set sail and guide your committee through these waters. And meet with your current committee and meet with them regularly, whether it's meeting for a cup of coffee, picking up the phone and going, "Hey, Whitney, how's it going? How can I help you right now?" That phone call goes a long way. There are a lot of resources out there. We'll talk about those in just a moment, but I would love to take this opportunity. I don't think you're mic'd right now, but I would love to take this opportunity right now to talk about what we have available for us in the room as
Um,
far as resources.
can you please go back to the last slide? I just want to take
I
a
sure
picture.
can, Whitney.
Thank you.
Yeah. There are several things.
Thank you.
You're welcome. There are several things, if you just do www.toastmasters.org, that will help guide you to tools that are out there. One of the things we did last year, I'll share one story and then I'll open for others to share opportunities for success. We took the first 2 months, we took July and August. Let me preface this to say, I was voted in as president my second week in the club. So for me, I needed to know what was there. Let me look under the covers and see what I'm walking into. How can I help? We took 2 months and we did a SWOT. We did what's called a Moments of Truth in Toastmasters International. I'll pull that up in just a moment. We took 2 months to say, hey, how are we doing? What's worked, what hasn't worked in the past, and what do we need to do? And from there, we identified lots of areas. And we had to bring it down and say, okay, what's most important for our members? And asking, as president, I said, what do you want to focus on? What are our top 2 items that we can take away right now and get something in the move? Everyone agreed it was our members. We needed to get back to focusing. We need to get back to basics. What we did, we installed member inductions. We actually re-inducted our members with a new promise to each other and to ourselves on how we were going to support our club. And since then, we have inducted 5 new members. And that ceremony, we get thanked on a regular basis for pulling that back in. We also, get this, what a concept. We put 4 open houses on the books and we committed to it. And we identified who was going to do what port at a minimum, who was going to get it on the schedule, who was going to send out, who was going to make a template of, hey guys, we have an open house coming up. And then the momentum built from there. We came back after 2 months and we brought it down to the member level. And at that point, I had already reached out to some of our members, as did our other executive officers, and said, how can we help you? What are your goals for this year? You don't want to do any speeches? Okay, what can we do with you this year? We do have a member who's been with us for 35 years, and she is a stellar member. She's not working on another DTM, but she is one of our examples of an experienced mentor with a lot of enthusiasm. So we honed in on that. We're not expecting a lot of speeches out of her. She's doing a lot of speeches, but she's helping us to craft our other members. In there, we constantly took a look at our calendar and did some checks and balances at a minimum that helped us to get back on our feet. It was too big to get out in an ocean and try to sail. We had to bring it back to a little dinghy and in a pond and see if we could sink or swim. So I'd love to see what tools and what opportunities you have out there that you'd like to share, especially with our new presidents. And I'll open the microphone and I'll check the chats while we're doing so.
Laura, I'll start off if you want me to.
I would love that.
I would love to share, actually, as the area director last year, in the tough time that we had with COVID, I saw some of my clubs really excel, and they did a few things really well. And a couple of things we're going to do in our club this coming year. One is have guest speakers. Guest speakers, in addition to open houses, are a great way to invite people to your club meeting that might not normally come. Another thing that a club of mine did, and we're going to replicate this also, is they had what they called a taste of Toastmasters. And what they did was they met at a local restaurant. They had a room set aside and they invited people to come, and they gave a short little presentation about Toastmasters, did a few table topics, and then asked for questions. Low keyed, everybody could eat, drink, whatever they wanted to at the restaurant. Just another low key way and fun way to invite people to your Toastmasters people, right? Then from that, they could then get connected to the club. So a couple of great ideas that we're going to institute in our club this year.
That's great. What a concept, Taste of Toastmasters.
It was really tasty.
John will be doing the same.
It was fun, low keyed. Everybody had a good time.
That's fantastic. You know, let me throw something else out there. I think some of us may have the opportunity to figure out how are we going to do this dual role. And if any of our clubs, I know there's a couple of representatives here that are currently doing both virtual and in-person meetings at the same time. I know for us, it's gonna be a challenge. We actually lost our meeting space. The college that we meet at closed. So we are working on finding a new place to meet. And in the meantime, we're also working at figuring out our technical components. What do we need? Do we need a computer? Do we need a video? Do we need a special microphone? So if anybody has tips such as that to share as well, please feel free.
Hi, it's Michelle Holden. I will share.
Hey, Michelle, it's good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you. Let's see if I can get my video on. There we go. We've been a hybrid club. Some people were not comfortable coming back. Thankfully, I don't know if a lot of you know Alicia Garrett, but my guess is you do. She is born none incredible, Toastmaster extraordinaire. And what she did was she was able to open up her business place, which is the Accountants of Tennessee. I should know because I go there every week what it is, but lovely red brick building in Maryland Farms. And she has been able to set up every week in a conference room. And what we're doing is we do have the sound, and it takes a little bit of finessing to make sure you can get everyone just right. When we go to speak, we have a computer set up. Anyone who wants to dial in can see us in person. You can't do too much moving around the room because you want them to be able to see you, yet you're still able to express yourself, use hand gestures, move around a little bit, but we're just careful to stay in shot of the camera. It works out incredibly well. Interestingly enough, it started that we would have maybe 6 or 7 people online and 2 in person. And that number has now flipped. Maybe there's 1 or 2 people online and there's 8 sitting in the room. The more people see that it's safe to come back, the more they're coming back. Alicia Garrett, though, if anyone is trying to figure out exactly how to do that, she's been the techie person who has made it all happen. And I know there were a couple of glitches. She was able to figure it out. But what we do is we just bring our speech in on a thumb drive, plug it in, we're good to go. We've got the clicker there, and it's been working out incredibly well.
Great. You know, as we continue to share in the next 25 minutes, you'll see how as CEO, you are the holder of the toolbox. You don't need to do every single role, but it's really nice to understand and appreciate all that's going on. Michelle, if you don't mind, would you share your club's name? I didn't catch it. That might
Sorry,
be a
it's
good
Let's
resource.
Talk Brentwood.
Let's Talk Brentwood. Thank you.
You're welcome. Alicia Garrett is your contact for tech.
Wayne Good with Murray County.
Hello, Mr. Good.
Now, Murray County is starting to meet in person next week, but I live in Huntsville, and my club here a few weeks ago started meeting in person. What we have is a simple setup. Just set the computer at the opposite end of the table from the speaker. That way you get a view of the entire table. And if your conference room has a monitor, it's good to just set that behind it. So that's handy. You know, when that person is speaking, everybody just turns and looks at the other end of the table. And they're still sort of at the front of the table speaking. Also good to add an external microphone for that. And that's worked very well for us. We'll be doing that at Murray County. Now, I've seen my wife's club, they have to meet in a classroom type setting, and they have the monitor up front. And that, to me, I think causes some problems because anybody looking in remotely, particularly guests, they're in front of everybody the entire meeting. They're right up next to the speaker. So I would try to avoid that. Now, the setup we only have one monitor in this room. So when you're presenting, you're at one room and then everybody end of the table, everybody has to turn and look at the other end. That's a bit inconvenient. If you have a second monitor, you can do something about it. But that's not too bad. I think we can get used to that, and it's worthwhile to be able to have more people at the meetings. And one other thing, a suggestion, one thing that's worked well, you talked about participating. Murray County doesn't do this, but the other clubs I've been in, assign the roles, including the speaker. The idea was you signed up for Toastmasters, so you're going to speak and fill the other roles. You can opt out, and there's no penalty for that. But the VPE assigns the roles. And if you'd like something different, you don't want to speak at the last minute, you tell the VPE. But we do much better filling the roles. Now, once you get into that mindset, it works. It's a little tough at first, but I found, being a project manager at work and then being in Toastmasters, people rise to the level that you expect from them usually. It's a little tougher in a volunteer organization. But even if you're getting people to volunteer, it's like, okay, you join, let's schedule your icebreaker. And you don't go into it, well, let's talk about this. It's like, okay, schedule your icebreaker. When they finish the speech, okay, we need to schedule the next one. You never tell them it's not an option not to speak. Now, that always is. But that's, I guess, the most useful thing I have learned in Toastmasters is tell people that expect the most from people, and they will usually rise up to it.
That's a great point. And I would love to segue, Wayne, on what you just shared. And let's talk about getting those tushes in the seats or in the virtual world and how we can do that. We'd love to hear your ideas. Wayne, that's a great point, because I'm more on the nicer side than our VPE is. She gets them in right away. In fact, we had officer induction 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. I'm sorry, let me back up. Use your words, Laura. We had new member induction, and she assigned her for meeting roles the next 2 weeks. And she's got a pattern, our VPE has a pattern of, okay, let's get them in slowly. Maybe they can be joke master, or maybe they can do grammarian, or, what do they need to focus on? But as you're saying, pulling in that icebreaker, getting them on the calendar, more power to us. And as you're thinking, because we didn't talk about this yet, congratulations. This is only our second year of everyone being in pathways. And it's still a foreign term for a lot of us. And as CEO, how is your club recording their successes in TI? It's not the easiest thing to do. And we have to remind our members to go in and log, get credit for what you did. How are you making that happen? How do you plan to help your club make that happen? Hey, Tony.
Hey, I apologize that that you seem to be moving on to a new topic, but if I can just really quick, do you mind if I just back up? Because
Not at all.
What Elizabeth and Wayne were saying about we're going to be doing a hybrid club this year and trying to figure out what we can do with that. I did just want to mention, I found on Amazon, you can get them from $40 to $60 or maybe a little more if you want a really high one, but 120-degree camera lens that you could just hook up directly into the computer that you're using. So therefore, if you've got somebody that's sitting in the sides of the room or something, they'll be able to see a significantly larger portion, a number of the people that are in the room, and that could be a valuable thing versus just the normal computer lens. Really grateful to hear any other solutions to helping. The interesting thing, I'm a virtual president from out of state that is serving the club. And
Congratulations.
Living in Texas, the Brentwood Early Risers Toastmasters Club. So any other suggestions on how to make that, and Elizabeth, you even mentioned, gosh, we had some problems that somebody else could talk about, but if you have any of those specifics, the more we could save ourselves from the reinventing the wheel, I'd be grateful.
Hey, Tony, this is Elizabeth Zerbick, not the same Elizabeth that you're talking about, but as part of a corporate team, we have the benefit of having an AV team. So I know that's not the case for a lot of the community organizations, but one of the things, but having that camera, I think, is the thing that raises the bar, because we go from only being able to see the Brady Bunch squares or only being able to see the speaker to being able to see all of the people in the room. So if you're talking and somebody can't hear you, you can see they have no idea what you're saying. Or if they're laughing, even though it's on mute, you can see that they're laughing. So being able to see all of the audience and all of the virtual people at the same time and the speaker is really the key to making that hybrid environment work.
Did
Yeah,
you-
I agree. We actually use 2 cameras in our hybrid meetings. We've got one camera that we bought. It's separate from the built-in laptop cameras, but we put it actually on top of our TV screen that's in our classroom, and it faces the crowd. And then we also have another dedicated laptop that faces the speaker. That way, everybody that's online can see the speaker. And then another thing that's important is a lot of those laptop speakers and microphones are not very good. So what I do is I bring my work Jabra speaker to the meeting, and it picks up the audio really well. And we just make sure that the other laptop that's recording video in the room is not picking up audio, and the speakers are also off.
I think one thing, we're talking techie as well. I think one thing I've seen work successfully in a club, I can't recall who to give credit to, they actually have tape down in the speaker's box. And they ask if it's meeting roles and you're in the room, that you come up and you stand in the speaker's box. So at every meeting, they don't have to guess is the camera in the right place for those that are virtual. That really worked out very well because an evaluator can be a virtual evaluator of a person that's in the room, definitely. I want to segue over and talk about, if you don't mind, because this is really important for our members especially. How are you handling pathways? And how are you handling, I hate to use the word handling, how are you creating a world of success for your guests and your prospective members and your new members?
Laura, I wanted to say something kind of actually about both, but when you're doing the hybrid meetings, for anyone who is still like Tony, where you're really virtual all the time, the one thing that our club decided early, and it was not super easy to do at first, but we are so adaptable as people that we should not underestimate the ability to be very flexible and nimble and change, is we demanded that if we were going to do this online, you really had to up your game. That means that once in a while you would stand and you would still do something standing. And then maybe when you were trying to bring in a point, you would come in closer and you would sit down. But we practiced actually working standing and being maybe more dynamic as far as our tonality and as far as our facial expressions and our body language. That way we didn't look so stiff. As most of you know, there's a whole thing called Zoom fatigue. And what it is that the human body is not used to looking at itself. A lot of times, maybe you can say to your people, why don't you turn off your image of yourself? That way you're not looking at you. We're not used to looking at ourselves. That's one technique. The second thing is that we're not used to having to do so much eye contact. In the real world, we look up, we look down. Just make your club members aware of being as organic and as natural as you could possibly be. And then I think the person who's in charge of VP of PR, which I was last year, or your educational person, I've heard a lot of really good things today. We have to get back to the old school way of doing things, which is that we have a joke master. I haven't heard that term in 5 years. We haven't had people really sticking to their rules and being very formal. Get your introduction in, come to the front of the room, clap for each person as they start and finish. Get back to some of the Toastmaster rules, whether you're in person or you're not in person. Let's get back to some of the rules that make Toastmasters Toastmasters. That way, when you're in a work environment and you actually need this stuff, you remember how to turn the stage over. Does everyone remember that you have to actually do a handshake with somebody and turn the stage over? Get back as a president maybe to reminding people what the actual formal rules of being a great Toastmaster are.
Laura,
Yes,
that's,
Mary, hi.
I'd like to answer your question about pathways. I have watched the club enjoy this year, recognizing the members that have achieved their levels. with a certificate. They're called up front. The fourth meeting of every month is for the VPE to recognize people who have achieved their awards for that month. And so they're being called up, they're being publicly recognized in front of everybody. We also are going to add this year a wall chart to see where everybody is in their path. And it'll be public for the group to see and to mark. As they come forward and get their award, they'll also mark where they are on their pathway. So that'll be the way to motivate. And for new members and guests, what we're doing is our VP membership actually starts the conversation about logging into Free Toast Host, but then also about the pathways. And then the VPE picks up and does one-to-one training with that person. And then we pass them off to mentors to continue that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. I had visions of the wall board also going electronic too, because it's there. You can see those successes, and that person may just need that small nudge to get past that first path, and then it builds from there. Thank you for sharing that. I'm going to share my screen real quick. Don't stop the conversation. Please continue to, I'm going to try to share my screen. Yes, I can. Yay. Whew. I am a nurse in a technical world. Watch out, y'all. Let me just move a couple of things off the screen. As we're dialoguing, I mentioned the club success plan. You may hear, this is alphabet soup for you, DCP, CSP. It's the club success plan. It is something that you will fill out with your executive committee, and it goes to, it actually, you can store it on TI now in your club leadership section. I'll show you that in just a moment, but it's going to walk you through what are your core values? What's TI's core values? But more importantly, what are your club values? What's your operating principles? What are your potential obstacles? Talk about the meeting, the team interaction, and so on and so forth. How are you going to do this? It's not something you need to fill out once a year. It's something you should fill out twice a year. Come back in January, take a look and say, hey, how did we do? Where are we? Did we lose focus on one area? Thinking about those members and talking about what are they doing? Where are they? What do they want to do? Is it for work? Is it for Toastmasters? Is it for a personal new hobby that they want to explore as a new career? How are they using Toastmasters, and what are we doing with it? That's the type of information that can come into this club success plan. I'm going to come back when you're if you don't have it now in Toastmasters International, your view will change just a little bit. When you come in July 1st, you will have access to Club Central and also Club Officer Tools. And if I take a look down here for such things as club management, there are resources already here for you. Maybe something for your new members, etc. If you don't have these in play already, know that they are here for you to be able to see. I think this was discussed earlier today. I'm sorry I missed the very beginning of our TLI together. But as you're coming in here and pulling in your club, you can see how are you doing and what's going on. For example, I just pulled in Skyline, and I can see where are we and what are we doing. I'm going to come on over to my club. Oops. Well, don't let me get lost in it. But when you come on in here, you will also be able to see, I was going to look for the moments of truth to show you how some of the tools are at our fingertips. Bear with me as it goes to thinking there for us. I'll pull in moments of truth. It's going to walk you through how to utilize it, What are the objectives behind it? And then as you come on in, you will see the tool itself where you can plug in. How are we doing with members? How are we doing with greeting? How are we doing with those challenges we have, and what recommendations can come forth in there? So that's a great tool to have at your fingertips. And as always, you have us. Reach out at any time. I would love, if it's okay with everyone, we are registered as president during this time together, and I'll send a quick note out with some highlights of the meeting, our session together.
Laura, I have a question.
Sure.
I heard just incidentally that the area director report has changed. I think it's important for presidents to see that in advance. Do you know, have you seen the revision, or is it out there?
We can look and see. If somebody knows the answer, please shout, but I'll go looking. I know the club success plan changed last July. It didn't change much, they just changed the format.
While you're
And
doing
I
that,
also, oh, go ahead, John.
I was going to say, while you're doing that, I was going to share that we plan on doing the Moments of Truth in July and in January.
Great.
I think it's a great tool that Toastmasters already has in place. You know, somebody said, "Hey, let's put a poll out to see where we're at." Like, we don't need a poll. We've already got it through Moments of Truth. Use the tools that we have available to us.
And I also think it's important to know where those numbers are and to be able to look at those numbers that Laura, you were going to. So if you want to go back to that, I can walk you back through those, how to get in very easily. You were almost there.
I pulled it. I don't have my glasses on because I'm vain.
Okay.
So I couldn't see the numbers.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll definitely do that. I appreciate that. Here's the area director's report. As a president, you will be contacted by your area director, and at a minimum, they will come visit twice a year. Encourage them to come back at any time. John, you mentioned at the beginning about guest speakers. Great opportunity. Hey, area director, come induct our officers. And by the way, give us a pep talk. Share with us what's going on with the district, or, you know, if there's a specific topic you need, see if your area director can give you 5 to 7 minutes to talk about it. What they'll do is they'll come in and they'll say, hey, what are my first impressions? Is it a warm environment? Are we welcoming? Are we inviting our club officers back? Several of the things we've already talked about. Are we using branded tools? This is a hot topic right now with Toastmasters International, because as we just learned, the borders from Texas to Tennessee got a lot smaller, and TI is protecting their brand in a different way now, because we do have so many people coming in and out of the organizations and the various clubs. It talks through the member orientation. How are we doing with Orient or our club? Where are the areas for improvement? What can the district do to help the club? And it'll walk through these within the subjects. For example, fellowship, variety, and communication. Taste of Toastmasters, guest speakers. We in our club, we started 2 things because we weren't getting a lot of speakers with 7 people. So we started once a month, we have all table topics. We also have the 3rd Monday of the month, we do progress to pathways. And it's an orientation to help us all to learn how to navigate inside of pathways. Maybe talk about a path, maybe jump into the software and help somebody log through. And also pair them with a mentor that help log those, the paths that they are completing. Down to member strength. Do we have more than 20 members? You'll hear from Dean Phillips and Don Bennick this afternoon about club quality and how can we help you help your club grow. Also achievement. What are you doing to celebrate your members and your club? As well as down here, You can see it is all pathways driven now, and the area director fills this out as we're going. But more importantly, they should be sharing this back with you. They're going to share it with the district and with TI, but they need to share it back with you as well and have that open dialogue about how is your club doing? What can we do to move us forward and keep us growing? Let me see if I can get back to my club. Oh, it is as slow as molasses. There we go. So here I'm looking at Club Central. I can see as president, I have, oh, that's another thing. You get to be one of the keepers of base camp. Something to definitely put on your list if you're not familiar with it. And I'm volunteering if you need help on how to navigate inside of base camp, feel free to give me a shout as well. I'm going to come on over, as Mary mentioned, I'll come to the distinguished performance report. So inside of Club Central, it's easier for you to get to your club's information. Right now we have 12 members. Woohoo! That is a journey for us. We're getting up there. I can see what are the goals to meet, where are we in the membership, and then where are we in the district. I did that backwards, but you'll also see down here for your club success plan. So here it says, okay, I need to meet 2 goals. I have met 2 goals. To be distinguished, I need to meet 5. To be select distinguished, I need to meet 7. And to be president's distinguished, I need to meet 9. And it's broken down into 3 areas. Here is the education and the 6 components under education. Membership. Our goal is to get 4 new members. We've gotten 3. And to get another goal met, we would need to get another 4. We got all of our officers trained in both the June and the winter TLI, and we paid our dues on time. That's a quick win for a goal right there, getting those dues in on time. So you'll have these come July 1st, outgoing officers will no longer have this access. Incoming officers, this will be when you log into Leadership Central, Club Central, you'll see it there. We have just a couple of minutes left. I want to thank you for taking this journey with your club. It's huge. It's a big responsibility, but it's so rewarding. You get to help steer that ship. Keep that life vest on, but set your goal. Move from that pond into the lake and into that ocean of opportunity. You have a lot of members that are here ready to help. We have a screen full right now. I look forward to hearing from you and celebrating your successes. Enjoy the rest of your day, and please feel free to reach out anytime. I look forward to it.